unblemished record so far, chasing a 6th win on the spin for the first time since 2017. A mixed bag for the visitors so far this season. 3 wins, 2 losses sees them coming into this clash in 8th position. A win today could see them rise as high as 5th. It is Sydney United for the taking, chasing that elusive 6th win on the spin. Coming into this one, you'd have to just about certainly consider them the favourites. But take nothing away from this young academy side for whom stability has been a key theme, retaining much of their crop of 2025. The starting lineups are in, so without further ado, let's take you through how each side lines up ahead of kickoff here at Sydney United Sports Centre. 2 changes for Miro Vlastelitsa's side this week. Out drop Kyle Chimenti and Farah Coco. In come Gabriel Tillo and Michael Krislovic. The full starting 11 as follows. In goal, of course, Adam Pavlicic. The 3 in captain, Bailey Rule. 6, Dylan Rose. 8, Tomoki Wada. 10, Carlos de Oliveira. 12, as we said, Gabriel Tillo. 14, Liam McGing. 16, Anthony Krilic. 17, Michael Glasick. 19, Michael Krislovic. And 23, Mason Wells. For the Travellers this afternoon, 2 changes likewise for Jimmy Van Weeren's side. Out drop Mitchell Glasson and Lockie Middleton. In come Tay Headley and Tyler Williams. Just about to get underway. The officials signalling time on, and away we go to close out round 6. And we'll take you through that Sydney FC starting 11. As we said, 2 changes in goal. Of course, the ever-present just about Gus Hoofsloot. 3, Reef Farias. 8, Watara Kamijo. 10, Tay Headley. 14, Jared Middleton, who also dons the captain's armband for the Travellers. So we might see an early break on this near-touch line for Krislovic, who's dumped to the deck by Farias. The rest of the Sydney FC starting 11. 17, Samuel Lancaster. 21, Zachary De Jesus. 22, Matthias McAllister. 29, Joe Lacey. 34, Tyler Williams. And 47, Corey Cronin. Very healthy turnout here at Sydney United Sports Centre this afternoon. As we said, it is an absolutely glorious autumnal afternoon. Mother Nature absolutely turning it on for us today. Conditions just about perfect for football. Setting up. It could be a pretty tasty proposition. Of course, these 2 sides met twice last season, as is the norm. Sydney United running out 3-2 winners last time these 2 sides met here. That's smartly picked out in the middle of the park. And now looking to unlock Krislovic on this near touch line again. Wants to isolate his defender. Cross is found wanting though. Tyler Williams was just standing off and allowed the delivery. Comfortable one for Hoofsloot. Sydney will try the central route now with Lancaster. Back in for Tyler Williams. Head up and assessing options in front. Unhappy with what was presented to him and opts to go square. Sydney United maintaining their shape, maintaining their defensive lines and not allowing any passing lanes as Wells steps in to try and take control of the situation. Farias does well enough to shrug him off. Lacey will help it on. Lancaster again. Farias was the wall pass. Across the back it will go via Williams to Middleton. Trying their luck on the far touchline now, Sydney FC, and halted just like that. And Sydney United want to transition quickly to attack. Numbers flooding forward. Wada. De Oliveira. Keeps it moving now. Krilich. Everyone behind the ball for Sydney FC. Glassick just lets it run and gives an early touch here for Pavlicic. Bailey Rule, who was the hero last time these two sides met, of course, with a brace in that 3-2 victory. Krilich. Sliding challenge from De Jesus. Glassick, who's been in fine form himself so far this season after the disappointment, I'm sure, of missing out on the Australian Championship following a shoulder injury suffered in the latter stages of last season's NPL competition. Wells looking to pick the pocket there of Lancaster. Fortunately for Sydney FC, Headley was on the scene. Here he is again, Tay Headley. Formerly of the Central Coast Mariners, of course, Tay Headley. Exciting young live wire. This one goes into the channel. Krilich was inviting his keeper, who duly obliges, coming out to smother the opportunity. De Oliveira turns around the corner smartly. Wada. Pressure mounting from Sydney FC, though, forcing it all the way back to Pavlicic via Glassick. Pavlicic this time will go long. Middleton got his head to it first. They can't get out of their own half at the moment, though, Sydney FC. Here's Wells. Loves driving at defenders, does Mason Wells. Outstanding technical player. Couldn't retain possession that time, though. He's a wonderful player to watch, though, Mason Wells. He was the Football New South Wales Midfielder of the Month for February. Started all 5, or all 6 now, I should say. Wonderful raking crossfield ball that is from Farias, showing off his range of passing. Swept into the area, repelled initially by McGing. Now dancing feet is Tillo. He'll get the return pass as well, Gabriel Tillo. Just holds it up, awaiting some support, and now wants to drive at the defenders. Brought down by Cronin. Free kick, Sydney United. Well, they come into this one in second place following St George FC's 2-0 win over Sydney Olympic last night. A win today, of course, would guarantee their return to the summit. Top spot on offer. A draw, however, wouldn't be enough. We'll come back to that in just a moment as we await the eventual delivery of the set piece. Floated in towards the back stick. No red shirts lurking. Rule will pick up the scraps. De Oliveira immediately squeezed out of it and then drags down a Sydney FC player for good effect as well. Matthias McAllister it was. As we said, a draw wouldn't be enough for Sydney United to return to the summit. They would go level on points with St George. However, goal difference would see St George remain atop the pile. Astoundingly, after 6 rounds, they still are yet to concede a goal, or St George. Sydney United, I should say, I'm sure won't be thinking all too closely about that. It's all about what you can control. Krilic sort of into the half space really there, and it's a good one as it turns out for Krislovic, who maybe spotted Hoofsloot just off his line, but couldn't quite get the direction required on the efforts. Wonderful ball, though, in the first instance from Krilic. And a warning sign, if nothing else. Tyler Williams, Headley just helps it on to Lancaster, who will sweep it wide. Headley again. Cronin will help it on as well. Looks for the return pass, but Bailey ruling that far touchline in there to take it off the toe of Middleton. Slide rule ball was intended for Joe Lacey, who is lurking with real dangerous intent. Again, it's Sydney United, though, just occupying all those passing lanes. No way through. De Jesus. Lancaster skips around Wells and then skips around Wada as well. Tried to play the little reverse pass into the area. And again, all the passing lanes blocked off. Krilic rising, just nodding it into touch over this near touch line. Classic, this time rising, nodding it into touch himself. Farias will have it back. Sydney United able to just squeeze their opponents out of it before Dylan Rose cops a kick on his way through. Referee Reece Edwards just ensuring the free kick is taken just so. Wells. I was about to say he's done well to keep it in the field of play, but it took a bit of an awkward bobble just in front of him. Off his shin and into touch. Giving possession back to Sydney FC. It's McAllister trying to link up with Lancaster. Couldn't quite do so, and Wells chests it down for De Oliveira. He's got an excellent range of passing, and it's on display to great effect there. It's Tillo now bursting into the area. Tillo draws a save out of Hoofsloot. Perhaps just looked a little off balance as he struck the ball there, Gabriel Tillo, but again, another warning sign fired across the bow from Sydney United. Camijo now for Sydney FC. Combinations building out on that far touchline. Camijo and Middleton involved. Again, trying to force their way through and everything blocked off, just running into brick walls out there, Sydney FC. Sort of midfield scrap in the opening 12 or so minutes here at Sydney United Sports Centre. Here's De Jesus. Didn't quite measure the delivery. Joe Lacey crumples in a heap on the edge of the area, nothing doing. Well, we said, of course, this fixture closing out round 6 of the NPL New South Wales competition is Headley. Sydney United looking to play their way through the press, and if they can beat the first and second line of the press as they have done, they might unlock some space here for Krislovic. Smartly defended as it turned out by Middleton. That is the danger that Sydney United possess when they are able to play through the lines of the press like that. Krislovic, a very difficult customer to contend with. Krilic. Sydney United happy to play keep ball for the time being. McGing. Rule. Now that's Rule. Bit of space on that far touchline, not being closed down by anyone in a white shirt. De Oliveira. Just go back and reload through Rose. Every red shirt camped in that Sydney FC defensive half now. Wada, good return pass here for Krilic, who's inverted. Tomoki Wada. Wells. Intricate little interplay between Wells and Krilic, but not quite on the same wavelength for the final pass. Results from elsewhere this afternoon. Of course, round 6 got underway on Friday night at Cromer Park. Manly United going down 1-0 to the Wanderers Academy. 4 fixtures yesterday. St George FC running out 2-0 winners over Sydney Olympic. Sutherland's picking up 3 points again at home to UNSW. Apia stole it late at Rockdale, 1-0. And then an absolute ding-dong affair to close out yesterday afternoon. St George Sissy running out 4-3 winners over SD Raiders. Who just haven't quite got going yet so far in the 2026 campaign. Earlier today, of course, Wollongong and Spirit FC playing out a 0-0 draw. Marconi running out 1-0 winners over Blacktown City, courtesy of Damien Sekenis. A red card and a missed penalty boot in that one as well. Looking forward to catching the highlights. Farias fires it towards a couple of teammates. Joe Lacey couldn't quite bring it under his spell. Sydney United able to clear their lines, but it's going to come straight back at them. Farias has to go back to halfway. Williams. Little clip over the top from Farias in the direction of Lacey. He looks a bear down on goal and draws a very good save out of Pavlicic. Danger not quite dealt with just yet. Edge of the area. Lacey, the strike will come from Lancaster as blocked. Lancaster will then in turn clip it out to Cronin. But Callister with a high boot there. Brave defending from Mick Glassick. Putting his head in where many others might not dare. An outstanding save from Pavlicic in the first instance as well. Save that really had to be made. It was destined for that far bottom corner. First shot on target from Sydney FC, and now it opens up for Sydney United. Wells maybe found himself a little wider than he may have initially hoped. Has support in the form of Krilic, and well, that's an uncharacteristic loose pass there from Mason Wells. I'm sure he'd love his time over again with that one. This Headley seemingly deployed in a bit of a deeper role so far this season under Jimmy Van Wieren. Operated as a live wire winger and occasionally a second striker during his time on the Central Coast. That's smart from Wells to take it off the toe of Farias, and now Wells has Greengrass in front of him. He has the goalkeeper out of him and he's dragged it. Well, shake his head though he might there, Mason Wells. That was certainly a golden opportunity to break the deadlock here. 18 minutes gone. There's no one really closing him down, and then you can see the intention, trying to find that far bottom corner. Never really got hold of it. Salute this time. No interest in playing out from the back, and that's a good first touch from McAllister. He's got a handy pocket of space around him before some red shirts converge on him in the form of Rule and McGing. Back with Lancaster. Camijo. Wide is De Jesus. One-on-one with Krilic. Krilic wins that battle. And doesn't he just? Just to go straight up the line for Krislovic, who wins it in a roundabout sort of way off the toe of Farias and is brought down in the process. Now Classic. It's his turn to deliver a raking crossfield ball. It's a wonderful touch as well to bring it under his spell from Tillo. Outstanding first touch. Now Wada is the wall pass before Hoofsloot quickly off his line to smother the danger off the toe of Rule. It's over the top in the direction of McAllister, who gets there just ahead of McGing. Pressure from Liam McGing enough. Sees it all the way back to his goalkeeper. Pavlicic will go long this time. It's ahead of Krislovic, who's bearing down on it, putting Farias under some pressure. Up and under. Sydney FC will go. Only as far as halfway, where Krilic will pick up the scraps. Classic. Rule spots the movement of Tillo ahead of him. Couldn't stick the pass though. Retain it though through Classic and now Krilic. And he spots the run of Wells ahead of him. Farias has body position, which was effective enough. Wells forced to just go through the back of Reef Farias there. Well, nearly halfway through the first stanza here at Sydney United Sports Centre. Deadlock yet to be broken as we close out round 6 between Sydney United 58 and Sydney FC. If you are just joining us, Pete Pryor with you. An absolute pleasure to have your company as always. Sydney United perhaps looking the more likely. Wells. Here's Krislovic. Returns it to Wells. For Farias stepping in. Cool, calm and collected there, Reef Farias. And Sydney FC look to counterpunch through Lacey. Brought down by a combination of Krilic and Rose. Just in front of our broadcast position here on this near touchline. Lacey. Playing through the lines very smartly. It's Lacey again who looks to sweep it in towards the head of McAllister. Just brushes the locks of Matthias McAllister. Cronin will pick up the scraps. Far touchline is Middleton. Just to help it inside towards Headley. Before Dylan Rose. Just a little bit late in his arrival. Certainly been a midfield scrap for much of this one here in Adenza Park. A couple of half chances for each side. Mason Wells probably with the best chance of the half so far. Couldn't guide it towards goal. Pavlicic has been drawn into one. Very good save. As we said, of course, such a wonderful turnout here at Sydney United Sports Centre. Locker stands just about full behind our broadcast position here. Over the top and possibly a handball, nothing doing. Strike off the post. Danger not quite dealt with just yet though. Camijo looking to pick up the scraps and Rose with an emphatic clearance. Sydney FC creating something from just about nothing there. A little clip over the top. Certainly onside. Just getting a look at the replay on the monitors, and that would just about be the best chance of the half. That's as close as either side has come to breaking the deadlock. The width of the post away. Sydney FC looking to really flip the script on this one. De Jesus wants a better movement in front of him from Lacey. Sydney United faithful here in good numbers, as we said. Earnest anticipation of the continuation of that winning streak. 5 so far, an unblemished record so far this season. They also managed 5 wins on the spin last season, through the mid part of May, through to the mid part of June as well. As Farias has pinched the pocket of Wada and will strike. Blocked off by Classic, who defends so intelligently, not diving in. It was certainly goal-bound. It was struck with a real amount of venom as well. I dare say Mick Classic may well have a football imprinted on the back of his thigh after this one. Sydney FC will have a corner for their troubles. Everyone back defending this one for Sydney United as the corner is swung in centrally. 2 good fists to it from Pavlicic, taking no prisoners on his way through. Swept back in and Pavlicic will rise to pluck it out of the afternoon sky here in Adenza Park. Sydney FC scramble back quickly to try and get their defensive shape. It's Tillo who's swapped flanks now. What an outstanding first touch that is from Tillo. Denied by the linesperson's flag on the far touchline. This young man is absolutely one to watch back in the starting lineup today, of course. After starting the first 4 of the season, just 17 years old. 3 goals to his name already so far this season as well for Gabriel Tillo. Could he be the key to break the deadlock? Not just yet though, because Sydney United forced into some more defensive duties, I should say. I'll get my words out eventually as Farias skips around a couple of challenges. De Jesus. Lancaster will just leave the throw here for Farias to work his levers. Straight into the path of Krilic before McGinn helps it clear. Coming together in the middle of the park there between Krislovic and Tyler Williams. On we go as Lacey will forlornly give chase and watch it over the byline. Krilic looking for Tomoki Wada. Smartly picked out though by Kamijo. Middleton looking long again into the path of De Jesus. Krilic will provide some company, as will Joe Lacey for Sydney FC. Twisting and turning and weaving into the area. Strikes towards the near post, and Pavlicic had a long time to see it. Smartly down, covering his angles well. They have to just about have the strongest goalkeeping stocks in the league, I would think, Sydney United. Of course, the likes of Pavlicic and Janjetovic, even Adrian Jamie Bazina. Pavlicic, of course, who returned to his boyhood club this season after stints with Sydney FC and the Central Coast Mariners as well. A-League and also Asian Champions League experience to boot. Bringing that and more to Adenza Park as it goes again in the path of Tillo. Farias had to be alert to it and was. Lacey pauses and finds support in the form of Lancaster. He'll have it back as well here on this near touchline, Lacey. Now looking to drive the tempo up a little bit here, perhaps Lancaster. Wide is De Jesus. First time delivery towards a penalty spot. No one arriving. Still they come here. Sydney FC, it's Lancaster again. Lacey, who's getting more and more involved and sweeps one straight into the outstretched palms of Pavlicic. Smart goalkeeping once again. Read the situation. Diffuse the danger. Goes long. Doesn't quite reach Krislovic. De Oliveira will try and pick it back up, but is unable to do so. Now, Dylan Rose tangling with Lancaster. Decision going in favour of Sydney FC. Farias, near touch line again, hugging that near touch line. De Jesus holds it up and finds a run of Farias, who will deliver first time. His cross doesn't beat the first defender, though, in the form of De Oliveira. Another corner, though, for Sydney FC. You feel like they're perhaps just starting to turn the screws a little bit, and it's not quite going to script for Sydney United. Crowded massive bodies right on the edge of the 18-yard box as the corner will be swung in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Nodded towards the far touch line initially. Sydney United look to get their line up. Pulled into the 6-yard box and repelled again by McGing. It's going to come straight back at them though. Lacey. Kamijo will just help it on. What can Sydney FC conjure? Delivery towards the penalty spot and again repelled by McGee. And again Sydney United look to transition rapidly. It's Tillo who's got pace to burn and takes the space available to him. Outside of the foot pass was intended for Krislovic and was just too close to Gus Hoofsloot. That's the danger for Sydney FC when they commit so many numbers forward like they just did. Sydney United have the attacking threats of the likes of Tillo and Wells, Wada, Krislovic. Tillo's just found a little pocket of space on this near touch line as well as they can find. And here's Wada though centrally. Now it does come indeed for Gabriel Tillo. Tillo sizes up the strike and drags it wide of Hoofsloot's near upright. Oh, that was the moment. Gabriel Tillo will certainly wish that he could have his time over. It looked too easy. Maybe he had too much time to think about it. Perhaps would have been better served going back across goal towards that far post. After Sydney FC had been turning the screws somewhat to Sydney United, has that pendulum of momentum perhaps just swung back the other way in favour of the hosts. Just over 10 minutes or so to go until the interval. Yet to find an opener. Here's Lacey. Blocked off. Wada will pick up the scraps. De Oliveira. Back with Vlasic, who's under a bit of pressure, as is Pavlicic. He's cool as you like, though. Wells finds Krislovic, and he's got green grass to move into. Well, only for a moment, though. Tyler Williams stepping in to take control. And again, only for a moment. It's one back in midfield. It's De Oliveira now for Sydney United. What's cooking here for Bailey Rule, who will strike it? Goal! Huxley down at full stretch to his right. Tips it around the upright. And his goal for the time being remains intact. It's a pure strike from Bailey Rule. Huxley might have even been a little unsighted in the first instance. He's done well to get fingertips to it. Sydney United with perhaps their first corner or second quarter of the afternoon. Variation on the corner finds De Oliveira, who will strike for goal. And, well, that's all the way out of the stadium. The less said about that one, perhaps the better. Evading the protective netting behind the goal and finding a wicked bounce off the hill behind the goal. 6 and out. So on we go in search of an opener here in Adenza Park. About 10 or so minutes to go until the interval. Sydney United 0, Sydney FC 0. United in search of that 6th consecutive win. Sydney FC so far playing party poopers. Tillo rises to meet it and brings it under control as well. Pass was intended for Wada, straight into the body of Farrier-So and over this near touchline. Wada finds Krilic, tries to dance his way around Lancaster. Just gets a toe in there to prod it over the touchline. Krilic will work the levers and go long from the throw this time towards Krislovic. Tries to hustle and bustle his way through. Unable to do so. Nearly wins it back inside the penalty area though. As it turns out, it's Lancaster. Trusting his goalkeeper's feet. Krislovic will come and apply some pressure. Effective pressure, as it turns out. Sloots sending it over the near touchline. Far touchline, I should say. Very much the far touchline. Vlasic. There's Tillo on this near touchline now. Tillo will deliver. All too deep though. Too much pepper on the steak, one might say. Wells was arriving at that back post. It's a long way ahead of him. I thought for a moment there, and I'm just getting a look at the replay now as well, that Tillo might even opt to take an extra touch and go for goal himself. Certainly not beyond his capabilities from that sort of range. Hoofsloot sends it into the afternoon sky, over halfway, where Classic shows off his strength. De Jesus now looks to come forward for Sydney FC. To touch it goes off the legs of Dylan Rose. Lacey pleading for more movement from his teammates, eventually gets us back underway. It's Farias. Tyler Williams will help it on. Middleton, the skipper, forced all the way back to Hoofsloot, and now it's Wells coming forward to keep him honest. Hoofsloot again goes long. Krilich again rises to meet it. Top goes towards Lacey. Again, Glassick watched it all the way before nodding it clear. And Krislovich, heavy contact in the back of Michael Krislovich. On will go for the time being. Referee Reece Edwards just waiting to see if any advantage would accrue. It didn't. You can perhaps hear what some of those in the Boca stand think. Asking the question of referee Reece Edwards as to whether a card should be brandished. I think the guilty party is just getting a ticking off here. Certainly very heavy contact in the back of Michael Krislovich, and yes indeed Reece Edwards has said that's your final warning to Jared Middleton. De Oliveira, he's found space very effectively indeed, looks for the slide rule pass towards Krislovich. Tyler Williams close enough to it to affect the clearance. Sydney United retain it. McGing, then Glassick, and now Krilich. Clipped over the top towards Tamokiwada. First touch just took it away from him though and allowed Tyler Williams to pick it back up. Here's Headley spinning on the halfway line and not fouled. Bailey Rule, Wada now. Twisting and turning and awaiting an opening. Still going here, Wada. Good looking pass for Wells initially, who stretched to reach it but couldn't quite reel it in. Headley, first time pass to find Lacey, and now De Jesus. Thought about the cross, instead opts to use a supporting cast in Headley. Now he will cross De Jesus, right on the edge of the 6-yard box there. It was an awkward sort of one for Glassick to deal with. Deal with it he does, at the expense of a corner. Corey Cronin across to take. Again, it will be that wicked in-swinging left foot of Cronin. What's the delivery like on this occasion? Come close from set pieces a couple of times. Central sort of delivery and bounces around everywhere before the strike arrives. Well, you know what? It stayed in play as it turned out, but Corey Cronin had stayed in an offside position. referee judging the final touch to be off the back of the head of Krislovic there. One of those 50-50 calls that perhaps could have gone either way. Hoisted back in by Farias. Juggling there was De Jesus. Spinning there is Lacey. Sliding there is Wada to great effect now. Dylan Rose looking for the reverse pass, and Krislovic just not quite on the same wavelength. It's Cronin for Sydney FC now able to stride forwards. Only momentarily. Wells tracking back to good effect. Lancaster has his pocket pinched. Wada, Rule, De Oliveira, ever so deep. Tillo was hoping for it to arrive on this near touchline. He was occupying a great pocket of space, and that's great strength there from Krislovic to hold off Williams. Looking to just clip it over the top for Wells. Wells just on his heels a little bit there, in all honesty. A chance for Sydney United, though, to box Sydney FC in, perhaps. We're just going to have the 1 minute of time added on here as we tick over the regulation 45. Game that's been in large parts a real sort of midfield scrap. Moments and flashes from both sides. Sydney FC drawing a couple of very good saves out of Adam Pavlicic, striking the post as well. Sydney United with a couple of very good opportunities, including one for that man there, Tillo. Here he is again. Can they strike right on the cusp of half-time? It's Tillo who will strike. Hoofsloot down. It squirms free, and the whistle goes to perhaps spare the blushes of Gus Hoofsloot. That whistle, a sound of sweet relief for those in sky blue, and that whistle means that we will go to the shed.
Half-time here at the Sydney United Sports Centre. It's 0-0 between Sydney United and Sydney FC. Scores from other grounds today. Marconi 1, defeated Blacktown 0.
With chances and moments.
And NWS Spirit had a 0-0 draw. Ladies and gentlemen, after the game, you're all welcome up to the King Tom
strike at the heart of the
some
other.
drinks, chat.
We're for a short break here in Adenza Park, but don't
you
dare go anywhere. We'll be back for the second stanza in about 15 minutes' time. a very warm welcome indeed back to Adenza Park here as we close out round 6 of the National Premier League New South Wales men's competition. Deadlocked at the interval between Sydney United 58 and Sydney FC. 45 minutes of action remains to see if we can find a winner and see if Sydney United can maintain that impressive winning streak. It's Sydney FC to get us underway for the second stanza, kicking from right to left of your screen and immediately giving it away to Mokiwada, who spotted Hursloot off his line, perhaps not for the first time today. Didn't quite get underneath it enough though. Fairly regulation stop there for Gus Hursloot. It's Cronin. Lancaster bundled off it by Rule, and now Dylan Rose stepping in to try and take control. Runs straight into Camijo. Rule will hoist it back into play. Little layoff there from Chris Livich to find Tillo, who wants to get at his defender here. One way and the other here, Gabriel Tillo burns round 1 and 2, pulled in towards Chris Livich, who will strike high and wide. Sydney United have come out of the sheds on an absolute mission. 2 efforts inside the opening 60 seconds of the second half here. The stats at the break fairly even. 7 shots for Sydney United, 5 for Sydney FC, 2 on target each. As this goes over the top, giving Wells something to chase. He will pick it up off the head of De Jesus. Couldn't quite lay it off enough for Wada though. Allows Farias to step back in for Sydney FC. Wells just clipping the heels of his counterpart there. If you're going to give away a free kick, that's probably not a bad place to do so before the attack really develops. Sydney FC now look to perhaps regroup after that fast start from Sydney United. Here's Cronin on the near touch line. It's the half space for McAllister. Weaving, finding support in Lancaster on halfway. Lancaster again finding a pocket of space. Couldn't quite stick the pass though. It's picked out comfortably by Rule. Krilich. Plenty of green grass ahead of him to move into. Wells measuring the delivery towards Chris Livich. Repelled initially by Farias. Won't find touch though, and Sydney United will get another chance. A chance which evaporated also quickly off the toe of Krilich. It's De Oliveira stepping in, and that's smart play as well. Pulled in again across the deck there towards Chris Livich. Get it sent out over that far touch line, and Lacey will make sure of the clearance. Vlasic will win it, only momentarily for his side. It's Lancaster who picked it back up for Sydney FC. He's been heavily involved throughout the course of the afternoon, got through a mountain of work, Samuel Lancaster. Sydney FC on the back foot here. Mokiwada was looking to bear down on the 18-yard box, hauled to the deck. Protest though they might, Sydney FC. Certainly a free kick in a very intriguing sort of position. Just 2 in the wall for Gus Hursloot. 2 standing over it for Sydney United. What's the delivery like? Wada leaves it and then takes it himself, curled in towards Vlasic, who rose highest amongst a sea of white shirts. It was the red jersey of Mickey Vlasic. Got his head to it first but couldn't guide it goalwards. It was on him in a flash and difficult to sort of crank the neck muscles enough to get the real purchase and power behind it. 3 efforts, though, inside the opening 4 minutes of the second half from Sydney United. Some of those Sydney United faithful getting a little bit restless, perhaps. You hear the perhaps half-ironic calls of time wasting. Krislovic again applying some pressure, and Hoofsloot really slicing his clearance into touch on the near touch line. Rule back with McGee. Halfway is Vlasic. They'll open up the points of attack now, Sydney United. It's Krilic on the far touchline. Wants to get at his defender there in Camijo, who slides into great effect. He just wins it off the toe of Krilic. His clearance in a roundabout way, effective enough. Releasing the pressure enough in the form of a goal kick anyway. Plenty of firepower remains on the bench as well for Miro Vlastelica's side. The likes of Kyle Chimenti, who started last week, back on the bench this week. Farah Coco as well. And don't forget, Canberra Croatia's Golden Boot winner, Nick Pratasina. Young striker with big raps on him. Both sides remain as they were at the start of proceedings. No changes at the interval. Just such a great vibe around the ground. A real buzz in the air. You can feel the anticipation from those Sydney United fans as Michael Vlasic in a coming together there with Matthias McAllister. Headley trying to weave a way through, only finding the legs of Gabriel Tillo, who had a couple of golden chances to break the deadlock in the first stanza. It's a bit frenetic on the near touch line, but it pops out kindly for Wada, who looks to clip one over the top for the run in behind for Krislovic, who has it coming together with Tyler Williams and is crumpled to the deck rather there, Michael Krislovic, and he's asking the question of referee Rhys Edwards. It's a tasty looking ball over the top, and just a footballing incident really, just a coming together. Back to his feet and all okay to continue there. As tough as nails, of course, Michael Krislovic. Hoofsloot this time goes long. Vlasic's got a puzzle to figure out, and well, he figures that out with aplomb. Possibly the calmest man on the pitch there, Michael Vlasic, in spite of the pressure from McAllister, who continues his press. Pavlicic, again, calm as you like. Vlasic, good pass to find Wada, who operates as a wall pass there. Sydney United now finding space difficult to come by, and Sydney FC look to counterpunch, but for the timely intervention there of Dylan Rose. De Oliveira, good feet to create a couple of yards of separation there, and that will indeed be the first booking of the afternoon. Easy decision for referee Rhys Edwards there as De Oliveira burned around 1, 2 and 3. Had his legs unceremoniously taken away from him after beating the third. Jim Van Wieren looks to be readying a couple of changes on the benches in front of us. We'll bring you news on that as it comes to hands. Meanwhile, Tillo couldn't quite juggle it under his spell, but it pops out very kindly indeed for Dylan Rose, who looks to dink one over the top, again into the path of Krislovic, a recurring theme so far throughout proceedings. Ball over the top, trying to unlock the pace and power of Krislovic. De Oliveira, Wada nods it on towards Wells. It bounces very kindly indeed here from Mason Wells, bearing down in the area, and it just got trapped under his feet. Couldn't pull the trigger there, Mason Wells. Tillo looks to turn, and well, that should be a free kick. Instead, it's a goal kick. Corey Cronin using his body effectively against Gabriel Tillo. Referee and linesperson unmoved, seeing it as a shoulder-to-shoulder challenge there from Corey Cronin. He's continued his war of words with Tillo. Well, it's all handshakes and smiles at the end of it, and there will be an opportunity, in fact, for Sydney United to utilise their bench. Miro Vlastelica perhaps looking for a bit of a different dynamic now. Kyle Chimenti is stripped and readied for action, as is Farakoko, and Gabriel Tillo is just coming over for some running repairs as well, a bit of the magic spray. Miro Vlastelica will just press pause on those changes for now. We wait for Gus Hoofsloot to resume hostilities, and he does. Chested down by Dylan Rose. Wada was juggling. Eventually brings it under control to great effect. Here's Krilic. Again, plenty of space to move into here, Krilic. Spreads it wide to Wells. Clipped in towards Krislovic and rushes off the head of a Sydney FC defender. Before Cronin completes the clearance. Only as far as McGing on halfway for Sydney United. Vlasic will help it on. Wells. Switch of play. Switching the points of attack here for Tillo. Little layoff for De Oliveira, clipped into the area. Pops out kindly here for Wells, who just got all too far underneath it there, Mason Wells. Radar not quite calibrated today for Mason Wells, and it will be a double change for both sides.
Coming on for Sydney FC, number 19 Mitchell Glasson and number 27 Lachlan Middleton.
Lockie Middleton and
for the home team, Sydney United, coming on is number 9 Kyle Cementi, and also McAllister, number 44 Farakoko.
One of those withdrawn. For Sydney FC. Kyle Cementi, as we said, enters the fray, as does Farakoko. Both started last week. We see Krislovic withdrawn. Fancy the other withdrawal was Mason Wells, that strike over the crossbar. His final action of the afternoon. Like-for-like changes there for Miro Vlastelica's side. Likewise for Jimmy Van Wieren's Sydney FC, Mitchell Glasson, just about a carbon copy of Matthias McAllister up top. Here he is, Glasson. Good little lay off that as well to find a teammate. Glasson couldn't reel it in though. It was Joe Lacey who was arriving, looking to put his laces through it, but the chance closed down. Good feet initially from Tillo. Couldn't quite dance around Middleton though. Lockie Middleton, of course. And, he's hit the deck now. Tillo looks to be stretching out his hamstring. On we go though, as Lacey tries to bundle his way through and is brought down. much to the chagrin of Liam McGee. Gabriel Tillo, we saw him receiving some treatment just a moment or two ago. Got some of the magic spray. Miro Vlastelica will be certainly hoping that's just a touch of cramp. Nothing a bit of the old pickle juice can't solve. He's stayed down though, and he seems to be in quite some amount of discomfort here, Gabriel Tillo. Just a moment or two after Sydney United had made that double change as well. Oh, so unfortunate timing. Looks like Miro Vlastelica will be going to his bench indeed. Feeling the need to protect the welfare, of course, of young Gabriel Tillo, as we said, just 17 years old, such a bright future ahead of this young man. Absolutely explosive player. Koya Nakano stripped and ready for action just in front of us here. Tomoki Wada receiving some tactical instruction from his coach. Tillo's back to his feet, but not moving freely at all. He'll make his way over this near touchline very gingerly to a very hearty reception from the Sydney United faithful. It will be he who is withdrawn. Bridge too far for him to continue. Koya Nakano.
Coming off for Sydney United, number 12, Gabriel Tillo, and being replaced by number 21, Koya Nakano.
Well, when we do get back underway, it will be via a Sydney FC free kick. Tay Headley, one of those standing over it, is the right-footed option, of course. The left-footed option is Cronin, who will leave it for Headley to deliver. All too deep, comfortable, straight into the awaiting arms of Adam Pavlicic. Roll it out to the feet of Bailey Rule. Bit of a loose touch initially from Dylan Rhodes. He's able to recover it and link up with Clementi, and the whistle will go in favour of Sydney United. Referee Rhys Edwards just waiting to see once again if any advantage would accrue. It didn't. Sliding it is De Oliveira. Krilic trying to weave his way around De Jesus, just running out of real estate. It was a frenetic opening 4 or so minutes to the second stanza here. As we said, Sydney United with 3 or 4 decent opportunities on goal inside that opening 4 minutes. As it remains, still deadlocked here as we close out match week 6 of the NPL New South Wales men's competition. Sydney FC haven't been without their chances, of course. They have drawn a couple of very good saves out of Adam Pavlicic. They've struck the post as well. But Sydney United, so far in the second stanza, with a renewed vigour. They've got some defending to do here against Headley, who shifts onto his left and clips it towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Repelled initially by McGee. First time strike from Lockie Middleton. They look spectacular when they come off. Difficult to get the technique right though. Came at him awfully quickly. Harmlessly over the crossbar and over the protective netting behind the goal as well. Not for the first time today. Wada again, that wall pass, linking up with De Oliveira, who has his legs. Not for the first time today, once again, taken away from him. Well, the longer this one goes on, with the deadlock in place, the longer Sydney FC might fancy their chances of getting out of here with not just a point, but perhaps even all three. De Oliveira brought down on halfway. They're keen to get on with it. Sydney United, of course they are. It's Rose. Farakoko on this near touchline. That's a wonderful ball from Rose. First time ball from Coco. Bounces kind of awkwardly. It's Wada. De Oliveira did well to bring it under his spell. Wada just dragging it wide again. They've scored 13 in the opening 5 rounds, have Sydney United. It seems their radars have all gone out of whack during the week. Perhaps leaving their shooting boots at home, I'm not too sure, but haven't been able to hit the target with any sort of regularity when one may expect them to today. Chimenzi, Wada drives it forward towards Coco. It's Williams first to it though. Rose, heavy first touch, better second touch, getting there just ahead of Tay Headley, finding Glasek, who's able to stretch the pitch a little bit here now. Good looking little reverse pass, pulled in towards Wada, bounced off the leg of Wada. Rule thinks about the strike, doesn't just think about it, he will drive it goalwards. Hoofsloot had to be sure he had his angles correct, flashing over the bar there from Bailey Rule. Double change abound for Jimmy Van Weeren, Sydney FC. Off Tay Headley. On comes Jordan Graroski. Nicholas Alfaro will also enter the fray for the final 25 or so minutes here.
Coming on for Sydney FC, number 7, Jordan Graroski, and number 26, Nicholas Alfaro.
Joe Lacey, the other one withdrawn for Jimmy Van Weeren's men. Hoisted back into play. It's an early touch here for Alfaro. He was just squeezed out of it. Nowhere to go. All avenues blocked off. Camijo helps it on in the direction of Graroski. Unable to link up with him though. It's Glasek who was there first, but still they come here, Sydney FC. Graroski, Camijo. Farias assessing the delivery. Doesn't have enough time to assess it correctly though. Krilic stepping in to seize the moment and seize control before De Oliveira has his leg seized away from him. Classic. Here's Lachlan Middleton. Swept out into the path of Cronin. First touch is a good one. Bailey Rule racing to keep up before racing across. The crucial intervention there is Liam McGing. Taking no chances with the clearance. Sydney United, of course, in search of that 3 points that will re-establish them top of the pops at the summit of the NPL New South Wales men's competition. A point won't be enough. They would still sit second on goal difference. And now Chimenzi pairing after this one. Farias struggling to keep pace. Chimenzi, well, Farias has done very well indeed, in fact. able to just about insert himself between the ball and the on-rushing Kyle Clementi. And that is about as crucial an intervention as we've seen. Lockie Middleton opting to trust his goalkeeper's footwork. Alfaro, apologies, that was De Jesus, able to wriggle free of his opposing number 21 there in Nakano. Lockie Middleton, this is Alfaro, weaving and twisting and just running into the challenge of Dylan Rose, who was assisted by Wada. Swept out towards Coco. Smart interception though. And that's a very good touch from Cronin to create some separation between he and Rule. The delivery not to match though. Bailey Rule will pick up the scraps. Drive it straight into the body of Jared Middleton. He looks quite tired. I can't blame him. He's another one who's got through an absolute mountain of work today. There's his brother, Lockie Middleton. Farias. Lockie Middleton again. Lockie Middleton. Space to operate in on halfway. Swept wide into the path of De Jesus. One-on-one with De Oliveira, who comfortably wins that battle. Just delayed and then stepped in to take it off the toe of De Jesus. Good piece of defending. Experience on show there from De Oliveira. Now Bailey Rule, who was the hero last time these two sides met. Scoring so late in the first half and then so late to win it in the second. 96th minute winner. Last time at this venue. He's had a couple of efforts today. Drew a save earlier in the first half out of Gus Hussoot. Sent one over the crossbar in the second. Camijo. Inside it goes, and spaces appearing now where previously there may not have been. Being closed down before the danger really presents itself. However, here's Corey Cronin. Sydney FC now patient in possession. Alfaro, little triangles forming on this near touchline. Cronin. Alfaro helps it on. Lockie Middleton dances around a couple of half challenges. Cronin. What's building here? Alfaro. Lockie Middleton. Buzzing around everywhere. Tyler Williams now. In the half space is Camijo. Dances around 1 and 2. Alfaro thinks about the strike. Thinks better of it. Now he will. Blocked off by Dylan Rose. Sydney United there so compact in their two defensive banks. That's a loose bit of defending from Rose, and now something building here for Sydney FC. It's Cronin! Oh, audacious. Well, as we said, they look absolutely spectacular when they come off. Sometimes they hit the corner flag, sometimes they go in. That was not a case of the latter. Technique looked all right, just really flashing, snapping at it. Tyler Williams now striding forward from the heart of that Sydney FC defence. Lockie Middleton, Alfaro slips at the crucial moment. Nakano wants it. Alfaro is just laying on the ball. Sydney United will have the free kick for the infringement. Able to delay the restart enough for them to get their defensive shape. Dylan Rose. De Oliveira. Wada. Sydney United's turn to be patient in possession now. Try and probe and poke a hole in what has so far been a miserly Sydney FC defence. Farakoko. McGing. Classic. Spread it wide once more. De Oliveira gives a return pass. Krilic beats 1 and 2 and 3, and he will strike. To the back of the head of a Sydney FC defender, Tyler Williams, who lost his bearings momentarily there as well as he tried to locate where the ball had ricocheted off to. It could have gone anywhere. As it turns out, it's safely behind for a corner. Danger not over though. Just about everyone forward for Sydney United. Everyone back in the 18-yard box for Sydney FC. And it's absolute chaos in the 6-yard box there. Referee Reece Edwards has got a bit of sorting out to do, and he's going to call a couple to the headmaster's office here. Gus Hoofsluit getting a talking to, as is Liam McGing. He's always a nuisance in these sort of set-piece situations. Eventually, the delivery will be swept in towards the near post. Flicked behind for another corner. That could have ended up anywhere. Dangerously off the head of Jordan Graworski. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he knew exactly what he was doing. Second delivery doesn't match the quality of the first. And so on we go. Under 15 minutes of regulation time remaining here in Adenza Park. Under 15 minutes of round 6 remaining. Just under 15 minutes for Sydney United to try and install themselves back atop the NPL New South Wales men's ladder. Hoofsluit happy to play short from the goal kick this time, and it may prove profitable as they're able to beat the first and second lines of the press here, Sydney FC. Graworski looks to help it on to De Jesus, I should say. It's classic, smartly across covering defence. Lockie Middleton. Alfaro. Referee just getting in the way momentarily. Alfaro able to dig it out, and now it's Cronin. Forced backwards under the press of Bailey Rule. Alfaro will have it back and link up with Jared Middleton. Cronin overlapping, clipping it in towards the back of the 6-yard box. It was Glasson who was rising, but it was all too high, even at full stretch. Sydney FC able to retain possession. Farias clipped over the top. Comfortable for McGing to repel as far as halfway. Everyone behind the ball momentarily for Sydney United. Krilic will happily watch that into touch on the far touchline. Just releases a bit of the pressure that was perhaps building there momentarily for Sydney FC. I wonder if we're about to see another change for Jim Van Weeren's side. Marin France looks ready for action. On we go for the time being. Tyler Williams. Lockie Middleton. Little handy pockets of space forming here. Lockie Middleton will receive the return pass. Alfaro wants it centrally. Instead, it's Glasson. Squeezed out of it there. Williams able to separate himself from Farakoko. Cronin now. Williams again. Alfaro. Sydney FC now just turning the dial up a little bit, increasing the ball speed. De Jesus. Glasson, who's dropped between the lines, measuring the delivery as well. It's over the head of both Growrowski and Cronin. Cronin will retrieve it. Camijo. Alfaro. Impatience and maturity in possession this time from Sydney FC. Alfaro, slide rule pass towards Lockie Middleton. Dylan Rose read it all the way and inserted himself between Middleton and the ball, and he'll win the free kick as well, Dylan Rose. It's a smart piece of defending from the 19-year-olds, who returns to the club this year, of course, after a spell at Sydney FC himself. We're going to see changes from both benches. Tamokiwada withdrawn.
Coming on for Sydney FC is number 33, Marin France.
Nick Pratagina into the fray. Formidable attacking weapon, of course, the Canberra Croatia product.
Coming on for Sydney United is number 22, Nicholas Pratagina.
Looks to get involved early, it's just over his head. Tries to win it off the toe of Camijo. Confirmation on that Sydney FC change as well. Corey Cronin withdrawn after getting through no shortage of work this afternoon. Marin France will look to see out the final 10 or so minutes here. They just look to peg Bailey Rule back a little bit as well. Meanwhile, it's Farias. Krilic has lost his man. It's pulled into the area towards Glasson. Sliding into great effect is Nakano. That's, again, a very crucial and timely intervention. Still they come, Sydney FC. Farias able to find De Jesus in a roundabout sort of way. Glasson has been lively since his introduction without any real sort of profits. Camijo unable to escape the attention of Pratagina. As we said, made his way to the club this season from Canberra, Croatia, the 20-year-olds. Golden Boot winner, 20 goals and 7 assists to his name in the Capital Football NPL system last season. Good friend of Central Coast Mariners Academy captain as well, Michael Paragoli. Those two went to Marist College together. It's Krilic. Can they find an opening here, Sydney United? Pratagina. De Oliveira will strike. Coco trying to bring it under his spell, trying to wriggle free from the attention of a couple of Sydney FC defenders. Take it off his toe at the crucial moments before McGee seemingly found a bit of a second wind. Able to close down or charge down the clearance or the attempted clearance from Glasson. He's been here, there and everywhere since his introduction, of course. Mitchell Glasson looks to be Growrowski, who will lead the line for the final few minutes. Lachlan Middleton eventually gets this back underway. Farias looking to go route one. Comfortable for Glasek. Pratagina, Coco. Rule twisting and turning. able to evade the attention and the interest of Camijo. Rule will have it back and clip one over the top, giving Coco something to chase. One-on-one defending from Middleton. Initially trod on the ball, but able to complete the clearance. Alfaro. Rose nipping at his heels. A little too forcefully for Reece Edwards' liking. 5 minutes to go of regulation time here at Sydney United Sports Centre. McGing didn't quite stick the pass so in the direction of Chimenti. Outside of the foot pass there is from Marin France. Now to Jesus. Drive it in first time. Straight to the head of a Sydney United defender, and now De Oliveira. Apologies, Krilic will stride forward on the far touchline before having his pocket pinched by Lachlan Middleton. These two sides trading punch and counter punch for much of the second half. Delivery towards Glasson! Side netting. And that's as close as they have come in this second stanza. There was perhaps a hint of handball about it. Mitchell Glasson finding himself with acres of space from the delivery, evading all and sundry. And, well, perhaps should have, in fact, at least worked the keeper. Coco just caught on his heels there. Jared Middleton saw it and stepped in. Sydney United retained it, though. Rule. Rose. First time pass. It was sort of halfway between Chimenti and Coco. In the end, Chimenti able to get there and win the throw-in. Coco now. Marin France just prodding it over the near touch line. Bailey Rule urged forward. Again clipped over the top in the direction of Chimenti, but all too far away from him. Glasson will pick it up for Sydney FC. Awaiting the run on that far touchline from De Jesus, which is forthcoming. But too good from Krilic. Watched it all the way. Nakano. Pratagina is the wall pass. McGing. Rose. Looking to make something happen from deep. Sydney United's turn to play keep ball. Glasson will sweep it wide. Classic, I should say, my apologies. Bailey Rule now. Head up and assessing the options in front. Unhappy with what was presented to him. Goes square instead. Clipped forward by Dylan Rose. Not too far ahead of Pratagina and too far away from Chimenti. Either side's going to die wondering here this afternoon. All to play for, particularly for the hosts. Looking to go for 6 straight wins for the first time since 2017. They managed 5 on the spin last season. Want to go one better and also reinstall themselves atop the table. Lachlan Middleton, though, it is to sweep in the cross for Sydney FC. No one attacking it. De Jesus will try and run that one down. He does indeed. Square ball for Camijo. Thought about the shot, thought better of it. Delayed and, well, maybe gave himself too much to think about there. Both sides have had their chances, the most recent, of course. Mitchell Glasson lashing one into the side netting. Flicked on from Chimenti, giving Pratagina something to chase. All too far ahead of the Canberra speedster, though. Hoofsluit will take his time with the restart, as one might expect. Ticking into the final seconds of the regulation 45. At the mercy of the referee and the fourth official now as to how much time may be added on. We'll confirm that as and when we can. As Camijo has his legs taken away from him, we will have 4 minutes of added time here. 4 minutes to see if either
put up 4
side
minutes of additional time
can find the latest of late winners. Well, it wouldn't perhaps be as late as Bailey Rule's winner was last season at this venue between these two sides. But it is, of course, a minimum of 4 minutes. Camijo to clip it towards the back post area. Whistle goes in favour of Sydney United. Fancy Pavlicic will be keen to get things on the move. He is indeed, but, well, restart with the rolling ball is frowned upon these days. That one was a little more still. Sydney United looking to create something in the dying stages, the final embers of this one. Dylan Rose, everyone forward except Classic and McGing, and even they're in Sydney FC's half. Protection as a wall pass. De Oliveira dances around a couple and has his legs taken away from him right on the edge of the area. A card will be forthcoming, and it's getting a bit heated out there as well. The sun might be setting behind us, but no shortage of feeling spice out there to keep us warm. Card eventually brandished in the direction of Wataru Camijo of Sydney FC. Threatened for a moment to boil over, but the end result is a Sydney United free kick in an absolutely tantalising possession. There's another yellow card brandished there in the direction of Marin France as well, I think. Reece Edwards with a bit of sorting out to do. Meanwhile, here in back play, Adam Pavlicic is racing towards halfway to issue some instructions to Michael Glassick. Thought he might have fancied himself for the free kick for just a moment there with the speed in which he departed his penalty area. Perhaps not this one, Pav. No, it is very close in. Tough to get the up and down. The draft excluder is in behind the wall for Sydney FC. De Oliveira might just walk away and leave it. It will be Coco!
First goal of the season for number 44, Farah Coco!
Surely sealing the 3 points for Sydney United.
1, lead Sydney FC 0.
So late in the dying embers of this one. Could that be 6 on the spin for Sydney United 58? Sydney United 20s against University of New South Wales, a new signing this year from Manly United, and the fans absolutely love him already, as well they might. Oh, that is some free kick from Farah Coco. That is absolutely special. And if that is to be the decider this afternoon, a fitting way to decide it. Meanwhile, Hoofsluit's just miscued his kick. Coco sliding in. Sydney FC understand the urgency of the assignment that befalls them. Hoofsloop will just have to send this forward. Classic will nod it straight up in the air. Alfaro can't bring it under his spell. A weird hush sort of falling over Sydney United Sports Centre momentarily. Sydney United able to clear their lines. We're into the 5th minute of time added on. As Drillick drills it into the legs of the Sydney FC player attempting the charge down, wins the goal kick, which Pavlicic will be in absolutely no hurry to take. And he'll pick himself up the yellow card for his trouble there, Adam Pavlicic. Back at his boyhood club, on for his 3rd consecutive clean sheet here today, if it remains as is. Pavlicic will send it forward into the evening sky. Nodded back into Sydney United's half. Sydney United 58 throw-in. Bailey Rule working the levers to hoist it back into play. Trementi tussling with Farias, who puts his foot through it only as far as Nakano. They could be wisely counselled maybe just to go to the corner here. De Oliveira weaves around, and that will be that. Here at Sydney United.
6 games, 6 wins for Sydney United. Unbelievable
6 wins
start.
on the spin for the first time since
Great goal by number 44, Farakoko, giving us the 1-0 lead over Sydney FC. Ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate this momentous occasion, being on top of the table after 6 rounds, 6 wins.
With
the bar will remain open over on the hill, so if you want to go to the bar on the hill, please do. Otherwise, head up to the King Tom Club as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here next week against Blacktown, 5 p.m. kickoff. And don't forget the big Easter Monday clash against Marconi with a 3 p.m. kickoff. Thank you so much for your attendance, ladies and gentlemen. Well done, Gigolo Croatia. 6 from 6. Well done to Miro and his Sydney United boys.
Here at Sydney United Sports Centre as we conclude round 6. The Sydney United 1, Sydney FC 0. It's been an absolute